What's up, guys? It is mid-October and sleds have just started coming in, and we're getting started with our shop work for the season. The sled that I just brought in is a 155 Chaos Boost. For 25, we got some pretty sweet updates. We have the headlight, which is lighter. That's the biggest perk with the headlight, is just saving a bunch of weight there. We have the new throttle block, throttle cable, throttle lever. I'm really pumped for this. There shouldn't be any issues with snow and ice buildup anymore. The throttle lever has a little different feel to it, and it just feels like the pull is smoother. And then having the coated cable, I think, is going to make a big difference for us. Along with that, we have new running board design. Something that I'm really excited for about this running board is the design here in the back. This may not look like much, but what this is going to allow us to do is trench a lot deeper because there's a lot less material here to get hung up in the snowpack. And the deeper you can trench, the farther you can dig down to find traction, the farther you can pin and wiggle into the snowpack. So I am really pumped for this. I think this is going to be huge for my riding style. We have this little camber here up against the tunnel, which just eliminates the issue of ice building up right here. So that should be a nice little upgrade. And we got rid of a little bit of material here as well. So again, just cutting through the snow better than the previous running boards. One more thing to add to that list is a new seat, just a little bit lower, a little better design. Should make it a little bit easier to get over it while doing hopovers. That's going to be a game changer for shorter riders. And then, average height guys like me, it's still going to make it easier not to get tripped up while transferring from one side to the other. So this sled is 7 pounds lighter than the previous model. A lot of that weight comes from this new tunnel design, the running board and the headlight, and then a little bit of weight comes from the drive system. Something that's really cool about lowering the weight in the drive system is it's going to make the sled feel a little more responsive. So I know not everyone was pumped on, what we got for 25, they thought there should maybe be something more exciting, but these refinements are actually huge for what I want to do with my snowmobile, and I'm pretty excited about them. Let's get into what I'm doing for sleds this year. This 155 Boost is going to get turned into a 165 Boost, and this video is going to be dedicated to the setup I do on that and some of the parts I put on it and what it's like for me to ride a 165 Boost. If you saw my 146 video last year, I'm doing a similar type of video, but with a 165 instead of the 146. On top of that, I'll have a rental fleet for proven progression, and then I'll have a personal 155 Boost that's going to stay 100% stock. It'll look identical to this one, and then I'll have a 146 9R that I'll ride when the snow's a little bit harder and in the spring. Yeah, I think that's pretty much all there is to say about that. I'm gonna get some parts ordered and strip this sled down and start working on it. This build is gonna be a lot different than the other ones I've done. Instead of beefing the sled up and making it kind of indestructible, I'm actually putting some lightweight parts on and seeing if I can feel the difference putting these lightweight parts on that I keep hearing about people running. Normally what I do is I put parts on to strengthen the stuff that I regularly break. This one, I'm focusing on cutting a little bit of weight off it and trying to make a 165 a little bit more playful. My goal is to kind of take that 146 style that I had last year and be able to do that same style on a 165 in deep snow. One of the issues I've had in the past with my 165 setups is that I put a really heavy aftermarket track on, I put really heavy, tough rails on it, and I put heavy shocks on it. And all of that weight combined makes the 165 feel a little planted. So I think even just going to a bone stock 165 setup would be quite a bit more playful on its own. And then going to this kind of modded out with a little bit of, lightweight goodies on it, it's gonna make the sled pretty insane to ride. This is an experimental project. I haven't done a build like this. I can't think of a time I've ever put a lightweight part on. So this is kind of for me to get a better understanding too of do these parts really help me? Is this something I want to do? Or should I just stick with stock sleds? Is this going to make a big enough difference that I'll do it again next year? I really have no idea. But figured I better document it because it'd be entertaining and you guys might learn some of the things I learned through this process. The companies that come to mind when I think about lightweight parts are Zero Composites. He makes an insane carbon fiber hood. Alternative Impact, they do a bunch of titanium stuff. And then Carbon Sled, They do full carbon fiber skids. Speaking of Zero, the first part that showed up is a carbon fiber hood. So I talked to Trevor about this, and he said he had a special carbon fiber material to do my hood as like a one-off project. So I'm pretty excited to see that. Let's open this up and see what we have here.
Hey, it's Trevor from Zero Composites. Welcome to my shop. Today I am working on a special hood for Caleb. I'm going to do a couple custom things for him this year. The first of which is to use some colored carbon fiber to match his wrap. Let's get it out of the rack and check it out. Caleb's wrap is red this year, so I have some carbon with some red stringers through it. Should look really good. I'm gonna get this all laid up into the mold and infused. I'll check back in once we're ready to demold. Okay, it's the moment of truth. We're gonna demold Caleb's hood. Let's check this out. Oh, that looks so good. Holy cow, look at this. I don't know if the camera can pick it up or not, but all the red threads are like super reflective. Oh my God, that turned out so good. It's gonna look really good once it's polished and protected. Oh man, I hope you're stoked, Caleb. All right, we're gonna give this a few days to post-cure, and then we'll trim it, sand it, polish it, get some UV protectant on there, and ship it off to Caleb.
This is insane. It feels like air. I honestly didn't know you could make a sled part this light, and it's like still pretty rigid. This red carbon fiber is gonna look killer with this setup. I'll kind of stick with like the red accents, and then the rest of the wrap is black and red as well. Some other products that have come in are some stuff from Alternative Impact. I'm doing Alternative Impact spindles and gripper hardware. The combination of that saves around 4 pounds. Not a ton of weight, but I think it's a good spot to save weight, being right up front on the sled. My main focus for saving weight is right on the front end and then right in the rear, because I think that's what's going to affect the sled like really getting thrown around the most, or it's going to affect how I can throw the sled around the most. I know like Chris does crazy stuff with like replacing all the bolts with titanium bolts and all kinds of stuff, and I'm not going to go that deep into it. Kind of just focusing on the big ticket items. And after doing the research that I did, I thought this fell into that category. So take a look at this ski with the gripper hardware. Pretty gnarly, like the details Alternative Impact puts into their stuff, like having a titanium bolt that has the head drilled out to make it even lighter. Pretty impressed with their machining and the fit and finish of their product. This sled's getting set up for deep snow, for filming days, and kind of just like when I want to ride something completely different. The 155 stock boost is actually going to be my daily driver, and most of my content and time is going to be spent on that. This, I'll get out when it's like sunny in Bluebird, or I'm up in Canada riding with Matt and Dawson, that type of situation. My carbon fiber skid is in. I'm pretty impressed with this, and I'm actually feeling a lot more optimistic it's going to hold up to the abuse after seeing this in person. The design of everything looks good, and it's just better built and heavier duty than I thought carbon fiber stuff was. This entire skid is carbon fiber, so every component is either carbon fiber or titanium, and it is super light. It has me pretty excited to see what this actually feels like on the snow. I think this is going to work good for a deep snow setup. This is a 165 skid. It fits along with the other stuff I'm doing to the sled. I don't think I would have as good a luck with this if I did like a normal 155 setup and I was planning on riding it every single day. But being that it's kind of a purpose-built deep snow sled, pretty optimistic and thinking this is going to work out really good. Check it out. Got it put together. Wasn't too bad. It took me a little over an hour. I think the slowest thing is just priming all the bolts for Loctite and Loctiting stuff. Otherwise, it's super simple and fast and easy. Definitely would be faster the next time, just because some of the hardware stuff is a little bit different than stock, so I don't have every bolt memorized like I do with the stock skid. But pumped how it came together. Feels super light. 34.47. Not bad for a 165 setup. That kind of wraps up this portion of the video. The next clip you see will be once this is all finished up, And then, we'll get it on the snow and start doing the testing and start giving some feedback on how everything works. I was doing a really good job documenting everything I was doing to this sled, and then it started snowing and I took a trip to Revelstoke and all the filming kind of went out the door and I just got the sled done and started riding it. The cool thing is I have a bunch of days running these parts and I've done a bit of tinkering and swapping stuff out since getting the build done. So I feel like I'm in a really good spot to wrap up this video and finish talking about it. The goal was to build a deep snow machine with the 165 that was still super playful. I feel like I definitely accomplished that. Check out this highlight reel from November, December and see what I'm talking about. In my opinion, the stock 155 Boost is one of the most versatile sleds ever made. It's gonna do flips, it's gonna pull chutes, you can rally it in the trees all day. It's pull and go. You have basically no issues, super reliable. So that's my go-to. That's actually sitting in the trailer. That's my daily driver. And then, like we've talked about a couple times, this is the deep snow weapon. Now, because I put aftermarket parts on it and made it specifically good for deep snow, it doesn't actually handle quite as good as the stock sled in harder, more firm snow. I don't know exactly what it is. I know some of it's just being longer. Like I've talked about this in other videos. I love the shorter sleds and harder snowpack and longer sleds for deeper snow. We're gonna head up the mountain and I'm going to try to find some lines that are kind of specific to this sled and then walk through the line and talk about why this sled does that line so well. Chase needed to adjust some of his clutching on his sled, so we stopped on the trail to do that, and I figured this would be a good time to go over all the details of this build, because I know I talked about stuff in the shop, but I want to give the full breakdown. I got a list of it in my phone here, and I segregated it by the type of part. So we'll start with the lightweight stuff and go from there. So for lightweight parts, we have the Carbon Sled skid, Zero Composites hood, alternative impact spindles, alternative impact gripper hardware, CFR riser machining, miscellaneous machining and titanium bolts, and a Diamond S can. The total price for all of the lightweight parts I put on is $9,034. Now going on to just like the regular build parts that I normally do, we have the Arctic FX wrap, backwoods rear bumper, CFR bar package, Ice Age tow hooks, Rox tunnel grips, and Öhlins shock package. And a Rox seat cover. So the total for just kind of like regular build parts is $4,612. And then for performance parts, we have the Boondocker intake, Ibex intake, and Chris Barant clutching. Total for performance parts is $1,206. So grand total for this entire build, not counting labor, just parts, $14,852. Pretty substantial. That's a lot more money than I'm used to putting into a snowmobile. I'm sure everyone thinks that I got all these parts for free. That's not actually the case. Some of them I did some sponsorship partnerships on, but I actually paid for most of these parts. I don't like putting new parts on a sled and not testing them and starting a sponsorship partnership right off the bat. I like to run stuff for a year or 2 years and then start a sponsorship partnership. So you might see me working with some of these companies in the future, assuming the parts work good all year. But yeah, I spent a lot of money out of pocket on this sled, and I think it's worth it just for my own experience to try something new. I get a lot of time on the snow, and I just love mixing it up and riding different setups. Oh, hi. Are you recording?
Of course I am.
Oh.
Was going to be B-roll, but now I feel like...
Now it's A-roll.
Now it's A-roll.
This is still B-roll.
No, I can see your face in it. This needs to be prime time.
So something I did to help exaggerate the lightweightness of the sled. Is that a word? Lightweightness? Anyway, something I did to help exaggerate that is I put everything in my tunnel bag. I don't have dash storage. I don't have my spare belt by the pipe. I have everything in the tunnel bag. So this tunnel bag's like 35 pounds. But I can take it off, leave it with the filmer, and then go rip. Kind of inconvenient to have this big of a tunnel bag if you're just riding all day long because you don't want to drop your bag all the time. But again, purpose-built sled for filming, for deep days, for getting gnarly. Works really good to just drop it. We are getting into the first line of the day. It's just kind of a treed side hill line. Don't really know what's gonna happen. Just gonna get warmed up and start putting this sled to use.
I'm so glad you didn't say some mellow trees here.
I can't say mellow because I don't feel warmed up and I might get stuck. And then that's even more embarrassing. Right off the bat with that first line coming towards Chase, you could see just how much momentum this sled holds. I think a completely stock 165 would have done the same line, no problem. But being lightweight, having that lightweight skid, lightweight hood, that seems to help the sled stay on top of the snow and rock it forward instead of just kind of trenching and driving through the snow. It drives kind of on top of the snow. Kind of an interesting thing. I'm still kind of getting a feel for it and finding differences between this sled and a stocker, but that's one for sure that I think is pretty noticeable. I think even a 55 stock boost would have done this line, but you would have seen me just working the sled really hard to make it happen. this last hop over is a good demonstration of how the 165 builds ground speed through the corner and gives you more elevation, just swinging that corner wider, getting you higher on the mountain. Another thing I'm noticing is how this sled spans the gaps over pillows. When the snow builds up on a rock and creates a pillow, there's hollow spots kind of at that vertical portion, and this just like chews up through it, where a shorter sled will often drop down and cause you to flip over or cause you to lose your momentum. Doing this bow tie right back here reminded me of something else with this sled. When I get this thing popped into the air, it pops harder than a stock setup, and it seems like it rotates a bit faster. And I think it's just from having less weight in the skid and the skid holding a little less snow. It's wild. It feels a lot like a 155, even though it has that extra length. I've been having an absolute blast on this sled. So much fun just mixing up the sleds. You know, last year I did the 146 boost build video. This year it's a 165 lightweight, and I just love mixing it up and trying different setups. Drop a comment, let me know what you think of this video, what you think of the sled, and tell me what lightweight parts you like to run on your sled. See you in the next one.